So finally, I have actually played and completed Control, and yeah, I have a few things to say about this game. Some good, some bad, but overall, this game made quite an impression on me. And as you might have guessed, in this video we're going to be reviewing Control and whether it is worth it to buy right now or not, or whether you should just skip it completely. And as always, and with every single one of my videos, I'm going to be giving you the answer right away, whether Control is actually worth it to buy right now, and the answer is, well, weirdly enough, yes. This game is one of the most beautiful games that I've played in recent years, with one of more interesting premises. But to be fair, game is not perfect, but is leaving you to want more on every step of the way, making this game pretty great, but still not great enough, even though in many cases it is worth its asking price. So now let's get into detail. So what even is Control? Talking about this game without actually spoiling anything will be pretty difficult, but I will try to do my best. Literally the entire game is a spoiler. The game is third-person action adventure with a paranormal elements. And yeah, despite what some might be painting it to be, it's actually not a horror game. It's more like a psychological tense game, even though, well, there have been games that are far more tense than this. It's more like an action game. In this game, you're playing as Jessie, girl that in the beginning of the game enters the Federal Bureau of Control, which is kind of like a governmental body that is controlling, or rather containing and learning paranormal elements around the world. And to you understand without spoiling a lot of things what this Federal Bureau of Control is, if you have been on the internet for a while right now, you probably have heard about SCP Foundation. So that's basically kind of like that, but in this world's version of it. This bureau is controlling all the paranormal and the objects of power. These are the objects that are having different properties, like transporting you into different worlds or giving you a certain amount of power. And your overall goal, which is given to you in very early in the game, so I kind of can tell you that it's a very, very early spoiler, like within the first few minutes. Your goal is to find your brother, which was taken by Federal Bureau of Control years and years ago. And all this will unravel that the entire bureau was taken over by some kind of hostile entity, and your goal is to navigate through everything, meet the survivors, and then just do stuff to, well, fix everything, while uncovering how the bureau is actually working and what is your place within this bureau. What I can say, the game just intrigues you in the beginning with a lot of old school office elements. Game is looking insanely good, especially on high-end PCs, and with a lot of particles moving around, which all is physics-based. The game looks insanely good. I'm not going to be going deeper into the story because, yeah, then we're gonna go into spoiler territory. But now let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. Gameplay-wise, game is kind of like a pseudo level-based open world. As you progress through the game, you're unlocking different sectors, and you're free to move in the sectors when you unlock them, go back and forth, and you're going to be meeting a lot of different enemies in different spots. So basically, it's kind of like an RPG where you will need to complete some quests and go back and forth. Even though you can just go through the entire game without ever doing any side mission, just going through the main storyline without any distractions. But the combat is an important part. Early in the game, you unlock a special weapon, a special gun that can transform into different things. And this gun has different properties that can transform into basically different weapons. It can be a regular pistol, it can be a shotgun, it can be a sniper rifle, it can be like bolt action rifle, it can be an automatic rifle, and things like that. And you don't have ammo because, yeah, this weapon is kind of like working on like refilling bar. So basically you're shooting some stuff, you're waiting a little bit, the bar refills, and you can shoot again. And different weapons have different type of ammo. For example, sniper rifle upgrade, you can shoot only 2 bullets back to back until you need to actually reload. And we can switch through different weapon modes on the fly, but your ammo bar is the same for every weapon type. So basically, if you shoot 1 bullet, if you shoot 1 bullet through sniper rifle and you will switch back to pistol, you will only have half the bullets to shoot like right after that. But you also have different powers, and all these powers usually revolve around telekinetic powers. You can actually lift up different objects and later in the game, you can even lift up different enemies as well and throw them in a combat. You can create different debris shields, and you even have an ability to fly and levitate a little bit. And of course, with every flying abilities and telekinetics, you also have a ground stomp abilities as well. You unlock different abilities as you progress through the game. But there is one interesting thing about gaining powers. You actually might not even get all the powers all the way until the end of the game. You can actually complete the entire game without actually getting all the powers. Because yeah, some powers are tied to kind of like a side quest that you might not even think about, just go through the entire game without even doing them. So that's the thing that I didn't like about it. But yeah, talking about the things I didn't like about the game, is the game actually fun or not? Well, you can actually divide the game into maybe 3 different parts or 3 different acts if you want. The first is introduction, where you actually introducing yourself to the bureau itself and all your powers and things like that, and of course your enemies. And that's where your exploration phase is, and exploration phase is pretty fun. You're finding out all about the history of the bureau, or what it actually is and what it does, and it's actually pretty interesting thing to explore. But the second part is a lot of going back and forth and having a lot of different side quests, and yeah, it transforms into kind of like bad open world RPG, which is you'll quickly understand that weapon upgrade mods that you are actually picking up from enemies are mostly useless. A lot of them are absolutely useless, and they will just clutter your inventory, which you have a limited amount of. So you'll need to constantly go for basically grinding for different materials to upgrade your weapons, which is not fun. And yeah, the second half of the game, which is probably the biggest part of the game, drags for really long time, and this lasts from around hour 2 to around hour 5 or 6 of the game. And yeah, this is not fun. But the game actually picks up after that really quickly near the end, and this is probably one of the best parts of the game that you need to go through. And of course, I'm not gonna be spoiling anything, because yeah, this is probably pretty major spoilers. Just trust me, you need to go closer to the end of the game to experience this game to its fullest. After the completion of the game, do I think that this game was actually great? Yes, I think this game was great, but it was a bit, how can I say, a bit lackluster. It left me with the feeling of wanting more, and even after completing its DLCs, yeah, I still was not satisfied enough what this game was actually providing to me, because yeah, this game had an impressively interesting premise, but I think it was not fleshed out as good as it should have been. It took me around 8 hours to complete the entire game, and yeah, it should take around 10 if you're doing a little bit of side quests as well, but and a little bit more if you are completing basically everything. And it will take maybe hour or 2 more to complete with additional DLCs. So a game is around maybe 10 to maybe 14 hours long. So yeah, this is not a very long game. You can complete this game basically in a day if you are really wanting to do so. But yeah, game is okay, game is fun, game looks beautiful, game is not long, but is it actually worth it for the price? So let's see how much the game will actually cost you. So game is actually available on Steam for the base price of $39.99 for both tier 1 and tier 2 countries, and can go as low as $9.99 for both tier 1 and tier 2 countries. And right now I'm talking about Ultimate Edition, which includes basically everything that game has, including the DLCs. So is the game worth its asking price? Well, I would not say that I would not pay full price for this game. Not because the game does not look beautiful, because it does look insanely good. Not because the game's combat is not fun, because in actuality it is pretty fun. Not because of its story, because no matter what, story was pretty good enough no matter how dragged the second part of the game was. But mainly because of its length. Game is not long, and even if you drag it to the max, maybe you'll be doing a 15-hour playthrough. Maybe. And paying $40 for a 15-hour game, yeah, I don't think that you should be doing that. But $10, absolutely. This is probably the most beautiful game for the $10 that you can get right now. So yeah, overall, for $10, this game is absolutely worth it. For anything above that, yeah, maybe $15, 100%, but I would not pay more than $50 for this game. Just because it's how short this game is. Overall, this was pretty amazing, kind of like a next-gen experience that every gamer should go through. And yeah, I'm really excited for the sequel that is planned to be released sometime in the future. So, well, this will be it for today. Thank you for being here with me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.